And then I will give you your papers back and we'll talk about them. Christ my Lord, the giver of light and wisdom, who opened the eyes of the blind man and transformed the fishermen into wise heralds and teachers of the gospel through the coming of the Holy Spirit, shine also in my mind the light of the grace of the Holy Spirit. Grant me discernment, understanding, and wisdom in learning. Enable me to complete my assignments and to abound in every good work. For to you I give honor and glory. Amen. Most blessed Lord, send the grace of your Holy Spirit on me to strengthen me, that I may learn well the subject I am about to study, and by it become a better person, for your glory, the comfort of my family, and the benefit of your church and our nation. Amen. All right. Let me start out by giving you your papers back and see if there's anything I wanted to tell you about. And then we will start on page 27, looking at the questions. Right. Let's see, if you see where I said somewhere, oh, ask me about this, you can ask, but I'm not sure. Would somebody like to claim this? Oh, okay, there you go. And is this one yours too? Yeah. All right. Easton. Oh, I have a, Sean, could you show me? Oh, because I think I know something. Where's your strong verb? Here, I'm going to give you the paper and you can think it over. Oh, Elliot's not here either. Don't tell him that I only just now noticed that. Oh, I'm recording, so I guess now he knows. Okay. What do you think? I'll tell you why I suspect something that would be good for everybody to hear. But what do you think you were thinking? Or is it unclear?
I don't know.
Okay. I wondered if you thought two things: building, which is kind of marginal, or Herculean, which I love. All right, well, I won't address it. We'll just say we're not sure. We'll just say we're not sure. Sometimes I find that people label something as a strong verb and it's not a verb. And the first rule of being a strong verb is you are actually a verb. So, let's talk about our writing first today. I said we were going to look at the questions, but let's talk about writing. Did you guys have fun making up stories about the people in the picture? Same. There's two kinds of people. There's many kinds of people. But some people really like a creative writing, make up your own story thing, and some people like to just do reports and research. Well, unfortunately, if you liked the last assignment, you'll really like this one. If you didn't, maybe not so much. But I'd like you to do something similar, but with a twist. So let's talk about that first. And I'm just going to turn this around so that it's facing the whiteboard. Okay, there we go. You are going to write 3 paragraphs for me again. And you might want to, why don't you find a place where you can write this down? It can be on the back of your reading questions on a blank page or a separate piece of paper. It doesn't matter as long as you know where to find it. I'm going to give you a picture again. And you're going to write 3 paragraphs about it, but this is how you're going to do it. The middle paragraph, we're going to start with that one, is what is happening in this picture? I would like you to describe it.
Ellie.
Oh, okay. Oh, very good. All right. So look at the picture. Tell me exactly what you see going on. I will show you the picture in a minute. Hey, Elliot. When you've been demoted to the futon. Here is your paper from last week. And we're just talking about the writing, and we just started talking about it. So what all you missed was we're writing this down. This is the outline for our next paper. And it's going to have 3 paragraphs, and I'm going to give you a picture again. And then in the middle paragraph, you're going to say, this is happening in the picture. The first paragraph is going to be, what happened before? Before can mean long before. It can mean an hour ago. It can mean last night. Before can go back as far as you want. However, if there is an adult person in the picture and you decide to tell me their life story starting with their infancy, it's going to be a really long paper. But you know what? If you write it, I will read it. You can go back as far as you want in time. Anyone want to take a wild stab at what paragraph 3 is going to be? Well done. What happens after? This can mean right after, in the few minutes after. It can mean later that day. It can mean for the rest of their lives. I don't care. Now, I would, if I were you, think about the middle paragraph first, because you need to figure out who these people, who you think they are, what their story is, name them if you wish. And it might help you if I show you the picture. This is the picture. This picture was in your Dorothy Mills book, or it's in my version anyway, and it is called The Accolade. It is a painting called The Accolade. An accolade is the dubbing of a knight, right? And so in this picture, we see the knight being dubbed by this lovely lady, and then we see this group of people in the doorway watching. I'm kind of curious what their story is. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about, is this his proud family looking on? Is this the family he's been a squire with? And what's her status? Is she the lady of the castle that he's been a squire at? You've spent several weeks now talking about what goes on in castles. This week we are going to talk about, and you read about, the making of a knight. So you know something, right, from Dorothy Mills. You know something maybe from King Arthur about what might have led up to this moment and what his life might be after. Or Dorothy Mills actually tells you, and we'll talk about it in a minute, what happens right after the accolade, right after the dubbing ceremony. There are certain things they do. You might remember that it's rather expensive, apparently, because one of those feudal aides was pay the expenses to make your lord's oldest son a knight. All right, so to make you remember what is the picture, you each have a little version of the picture. You can still see the people. Your eyes can see it better than me, probably. Why don't you just take one and pass it down. We'll just go one direction. It's fraught with difficulty, always. Oh, and by the way, yes, P1, P2, strong verb, and alliteration. I think you are all completely and utterly capable of that. Would Amelia like a picture too, Gianna? Hers is there. Do you want to share the picture? What?
I can show her.
You can show yours, okay. Any questions at all? Does that assignment make sense to everybody? All right. Oh, I almost forgot the most important piece of information. I'm going to give you 2 weeks for this assignment. If you want to do it all this week, you can give it to me next week and then you have a week off. But if you want to take some time to look back in Dorothy Mills and say, oh, I'm going to review what is the life of a squire like, or what is the life of a page like, or what is it that they do after this ceremony? I want to give you time for that. But I know that sometimes it sounds like, oh, that means I can just not do anything this week. And that's not my intent. Go ahead and start and think about it. You don't have to, don't wait until 2 days before we, come together 2 weeks from now and then write the whole thing. So I'm giving you plenty of time to write an awesome story. And especially a long story if you're just very interested in this guy's entire backstory and his life. All right? Okay. We shall move on. Hold on, I am looking at the wrong page. There we go. Today we looked at who's living in some of these castles, the knights. And one distinctive, let's say it like that, in the King Arthur book, do you guys remember, it's a story we didn't really talk about much last week, but you read it for the week before, the two brothers. And the one guy got the sword, and it was a cursed sword, and he went in, and then he grabbed the spear that was dripping blood, and he wounded King Pelles at Castle, and da-da-da-da-da. And it went on, and finally he showed up at this castle. Welcome, but before you come in, you have to fight with our knight that lives down here, and everybody has to fight him before he comes in. And he comes out, and it turns out to be the guy's brother. But he doesn't know it's his brother. Why does he not know? Why not, Elliot? What about it? Okay, first of all, his armor, you can't see his face. So does that mean when two knights meet, nobody knows who the other people are? How do you know? Okay. They've got symbols on their shield, perhaps on their armor, but often on the shield, that describe who their family is, who they are. So for this week, we met Sir Lancelot, and what kind of knight is Sir Kay? What's our opinion of Sir Kay? Would we like an adjective? Do we have an adjective to describe Sir Kay? Rude. That's a pretty good one. He's very rude. Is he an awesome fighter? Apparently gets knocked off his horse all the time because he's kind of a wimp. But we read this story of how Lancelot and Kay ended up at a hotel, an inn together, and Lancelot got up early and he put on Sir Kay's armor. And he left his own armor for Sir Kay. And Sir Kay got up and he said, oh, this will be a good joke, because what does Sir Kay think is going to happen next when Sir Lancelot rides around in Sir Kay's armor? What does he think is going to happen to him? But is anybody going to be able to do that to Lancelot? No. People are going to say, oh, look at Sir Kay. He's an easy mark. Let's go knock him off his horse. And they're going to try, but it's Lancelot. And why will they think it's Sir Kay? Because of the symbol on his shield and on his armor. So, do any of you know the fancy name for the study of all the symbols of coats of arms? And it's got a name. I'm going to show you some. It's called heraldry. heraldry. And I marked this page. There's all sorts of designs and colors, and they all mean something. You don't just, in general, you don't just randomly choose something you like. I like those two colors, they go well together. They all are symbolic. And if you have an animal on your shield, it might be a pun on your name. So if somebody's my son-in-law and daughter, their last name is Shepherd. So you might put a sheep, even though they're not shepherds, literally, but that's their name, because it's kind of a joke on their name. So here's what I did for you guys. We do not have time to sit here together and all of us think about your families and design some awesome shield for you, but you have time at home if you wanted to. And I found a website that tells you what templates of shield shapes you can print out and cut out and mount on something. I thought it was very cool. So I have put that in the email that goes out to your family. So if you're interested in designing something for your family, a coat of arms or a shield for you personally, I would love to see them. My kids, their dad just cut out of old plywood, a shield shape, and they painted them. They chose colors. One on paper. You're not required, I'm not saying this is your assignment, you must bring it back to me. But if you think it's cool or you'd like to know more about it, ask your parents to look at the website link. All right, that is what I have to say about heraldry. Let us talk about these knights. The first question I asked you guys is, what are some of the ideals of chivalry? We talked a little bit about this last week when we read King Arthur too. What does chivalry mean? What's the code of honor?
It's a conduct for knights.
Okay.
Exercising bravery, loyalty, and honor, alongside virtues like courtesy, justice, and mercy.
Very good. We saw lack of mercy last week, if you remember. Remember Gawain? That guy was begging for mercy, and he wouldn't give it to him, and he was swinging the sword around, and then the lady threw herself on him, and he just chopped off the lady's head. Courtesy, especially towards women, loyalty. Have you ever thought about, I'll just move this back and forth when I'm over here. The fact that, are we familiar with courtesy? Like politeness, that word, okay? And it's spelled like this. And what word is buried in there? Court. So it's manners that you would use at court, right? If you were in front of the king and queen, how would you behave if you were in front of the king? Well, that's courtesy. But the knight, he owes it to everyone. He's supposed to be courteous to everyone. Is Sir Kay always courteous? Oh, goodness, no. No, he's a big failing there. So mercy, loyalty to your lord, loyalty to the king. All of this goes together to form this code of chivalry. And it's kind of a weird word, isn't it? I think it's a weird word. It's because it's French. Not that the French are weird, but it's not an English word. And it comes from chevalier. Chevalier. Chevalier is the French word for a knight, for a horseman. And so, so we get this word from French. And then in that same paragraph, I want to read this. I didn't ask you this question, but I'm going to ask you now. It says, the ideals of chivalry were not always lived up to. But in an age that was often rough and violent, they were a civilizing influence, and they set a standard that was deeply respected. Noblesse oblige expresses what was required of those who were bound by the obligations of chivalry. It's spelled like this. Noblesse oblige. It's French too. Does anybody want to take a guess at what it might mean? Because we have English words very, very much like these words. No, noble, noblesse, nobility, nobleness. And what does nobility or nobleness do? If you have it. This is actually, I said oblige, but that word is an English word too. Oblige. Or obligated. You're obliged to do something if you're obligated to do it. What are you obligated to do? I don't mean specific things, but what does it mean to be obligated to do something? I'm so glad I asked. You have to do it. You don't have any choice. I am obliged, as are your families, to pay taxes. I am obliged. Whether I want to or not, I'm obliged to do it. And so, noblesse oblige means because I am a nobleman, a knight or whatever, I'm obliged, I'm obligated to do certain things for those less fortunate than I am, we'll say. I'm obliged, whoever's given me that title of nobility, my lord, I'm obliged to do things for him, but I'm obliged to be courteous and kind to the women, to even the peasants and the serfs that live on my land. And so I was wondering, do you think that goes along, is that a Christian value? Is it something Christians could say, that because we have a certain gift, we're obligated to give and help others? We might not say because we are noble, but could we say Christianesse oblige? If you're a Christian, are we obliged to do certain things? Absolutely. Jesus said, I was hungry and you didn't give me food. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. And he gives some very, very harsh warnings about ignoring people that you could help. So I like that. I like that. If we are blessed with certain things, then according to the code of chivalry, we owe certain things. It says in Scripture, to whom much is given, much will be required, right? Okay, so that is the code of chivalry. Next up, Dorothy Mills gave you a very long passage about how children should behave. These children are pages. So remember, first you are a page. Does anybody remember how old you are when you go off to become a page, roughly? Is it Easton?
Isn't it 7 or 8?
So, yeah, around 7. This is really interesting to me. This is just, now we're going to just take a trip with Mrs. Ferguson because something's interesting. Throughout history, age 7 is the time for training. The Spartans and the Greeks didn't start any schooling till they were 7. And in the Middle Ages, boys didn't go off to the monastic schools till they were 7. And then we find out pages didn't go until they were 7. I just find it really kind of weird that we start going to school so early now. But just a few years ago in Illinois, age 7 was the mandatory school age. It was interesting. I thought maybe they know something about 7-year-olds, that they're ready for things. Do any of you have somebody younger than 7 in your house? Mm-hmm. They're a little squirrely, aren't they? We won't tell them we said that, but they are. So these boys, these children that we're talking about, are older than 7. And they're pages living in someone else's house. By the way, why do I send you to someone else's house if I want you to become a knight? Say we're noble and my husband's a knight, and we want young Gus here to grow up well, and he's going to be a knight. He's the next hope of our family. And then we say, Gus, you're going to be a great knight. Go away. Go away. Go to somebody else. Go to some other knight's house and live there now for the next 7 years and go in training. But why don't we just train him? I don't have an answer that I found in a history book, but I have an answer that I suspect. So, it's not my family. You're unadopted now. You're back in your own family. Your dad is going to train you to be a knight. And your mom is going to help train you to be a knight. And your page, and you're serving your mom, you're serving your dad. There are several options that could happen here. You're at home training, but another little boy comes to your house and he's also training, right? He's not related to your family. Is your dad going to treat you the same way that he treats the other kid that comes? What's one option? Maybe he might be, do you think he'll be harder on you or easier on you? You have to tell me how you feel about your dad, but it kind of depends, right? Also, your mom will be hovering around. And your dad says, go out there and, I don't know, practice with the sword. And then, oh, don't hurt yourself. Don't cut yourself. You see? Because moms are like that sometimes. Do you see what I'm driving at? But if you go to someone else's family, you're not their kid. And maybe they won't be too easy on you, and hopefully they won't be too hard on you. Does that make sense? I've never read that anywhere, but I've just wondered. Your dad's a knight, just stay home. And I thought, why would they do that? Because I know how I might act. So let's back to these list of instructions for young pages. They're 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. And I asked you, if you think we'd be better off today if we still followed these instructions, if this is how kids behaved in homes, why are we not? Or I wondered if there were any particular pieces of instruction that struck you as, hey, that's good, or anything that you just thought was awful. What was your opinion on the behavior? Do you think it was too easy or too strict? Or just right? Yes, Elliot.
Like, we should all have good manners and stuff like that. But then it's talking about, like, the table manners and stuff. They're, like, a little strict.
A little strict. Let me read this portion. When you be set, keep your own knife clean and sharp, so you may carve honestly your own meat. Let courtesy and silence dwell with you. Cut your bread with your knife and break it not. I'm not sure why we're not allowed to break it with our hands. Lay a clean trencher before you, and when your pottage is brought, take your spoon and eat quietly. Do not leave your spoon in the dish, I pray you. Look ye be not caught leaning on the table, and keep clear of soiling the cloth. Do not hang your head over your dish, or in any wise drink with full mouth. When ye shall drink, wipe your mouth clean with a cloth, and your hands also. Do not carry your knife to your mouth with food. You might not know this, but they didn't have forks. For a long time there were no forks, but I'm not sure what we're supposed to... Spoon? What? Because he also says, or hold the meat with your hands in any wise. When you have done, look then that ye rise up without laughter or joking or boisterous word, and go to your Lord's table, and there stand, and pass not from him until grace be said and brought to an end. You think that's too much for an 8-year-old? I don't know. You said, Elliot, first of all, somebody had their hand up over here, too. Was it one of you? I thought I saw him. You said, good manners is always good. Let's take a look at how they start the day. Arise betimes from your bed. Betimes means early. Cross your breast and your forehead, wash your hands and face, comb your hair, and ask the grace of God to speed you in all your works. Get up, clean yourself up, and pray. This seems like a good. Look you be true in word and deed. Make no promise, save it be good, and then keep it with all your might. For every promise is a debt that must not be remitted through falsehood. So, whether we think it's too strict or just right, these young men, these boys, were brought up very carefully. So how do we end up with a Sir K? What do you think? Because presumably all that, Sir K had all of that. Does anybody have an idea? They're just afraid to share it. Does everybody with a really good upbringing turn out well? Some people just don't turn out as well because you get to make your own decisions after a certain age, right? How about these knights in King Arthur that just park themselves by the side of the road and they say, hey, everybody who comes past here, you have to fight with me. How about the guy who makes himself invisible and just goes and kills people? He's a knight. He had the same training. Sometimes the training doesn't do everything, does it? All right. Can anybody who wants to become a knight? That was the next question I asked you. Can anybody become a knight? Why? What might be something that keeps you from becoming a knight? Yes, Elliot. Okay, first of all, it costs money. And you might say, well, no problem, because my dad's vassals have to pay. Yeah, only for the oldest. And I think we met that in this group before, didn't we? Didn't somebody get shipped off to a monastery? Was that you? Maybe it wouldn't be that, but we've got to do something to provide for your future, and that will give you a good education, and we just can't afford it. So that might be one hurdle. What else might stop you from becoming a knight?
It was a privileged position.
So what kind of family do you have to come from if you want to be a knight? A noble family. You've got to have noble ancestors, and you can't just be my dad and my grandpa and my great-grandpa were just peasants in the field, and suddenly you want to become a knight. It didn't work that way. Does that seem fair to you, by the way? Why do you think that doesn't seem fair?
Because it doesn't leave any choice for the poor people to become knights.
Could there be somebody who's poorer and not from a noble family who would be a good knight? Yeah. Can poor people, peasants, be brave and loyal and sure. But that's just not the way it worked. Remember that feudal system, right? And we said everybody has a place and everybody knew what slot they were in. And it's kind of nice because you don't have to worry. This is my slot. But it's kind of bad because, well, that's my slot. I can't get out of it. Does anybody else remember anything that might keep you from becoming a knight? This is kind of a trick question. Dorothy Mills says, a squire did not necessarily become a knight. Many men remained squires all their lives, sometimes because they were not rich enough to meet the demands made on knights. Sometimes they were not of sufficiently gentle birth, and gentle birth means noble birth. Sometimes they had neither the love of adventure nor the gaiety of heart that inspired a man to knightly deeds. Could somebody translate that for me? Sometimes they had neither the love of adventure nor the gaiety of heart that inspired a man to knightly deeds. What is she saying? What is she saying, Gianna? Just don't want to. That doesn't sound like a fun life to me. I'd rather do something else, or maybe I'd rather just be a squire and just not have to be in charge, just be the helper and not the main event. Such men often remained faithful, loyal squires, and in England it was not uncommon for them to be granted lands or manors. Interesting. So the page is the young boy. What do squires do?
Let's train them to be squire. Said somewhere, I think, when the page is training, the squire helped them.
Okay, so maybe you're helping those below you at the page level. What else does a squire do? You can also, we see this in movies sometimes or books. What did Gianno?
Like help the knight.
Help the knight. So help him get his armor on and take his armor off. And Dorothy Mills also says it was the squire's duty to carry him to a place of safety if he were wounded. No easy task when the Lord was clad from head to foot in heavy armor. You got to carry him to a safe place if he's down. Speaking of that, I looked up some armor in this very cool book that I wanted to show you. It says the main body armor worn by early knights was made of chainmail. And we're all familiar, I'm sure, with chainmail, right? Links of metal rings. But later on, when they had the full suits of armor, it says by about 1400, some knights wore full suits of plate armor. A suit weighed about 44 to 55 pounds. 50-ish pounds of armor. That's just a lot. Now, it's not quite the same as putting a 50-pound pack on your back because it's spread out, but still, carrying around an extra 50 pounds, that's pretty good. But it says, because the weight was spread over the body, the fit man could run, lie down, or mount a horse unaided in his armor. Okay, I have a story about armor. This is an aside, but it pops into my head. So there was a king, a famous king of England. He was another Richard. We're going to read about a Richard next week, but this is a different Richard. Richard the III. And there's a famous Shakespeare play. Are we familiar with Shakespeare? With William Shakespeare? Okay. There's a Shakespeare play about Richard III. And he's notorious for being a dirty, rotten scoundrel, basically, who had his nephews murdered and whatnot, and that's what a lot of the play is about. But he's not a made up person. He's a real king of England. And he was described as having some sort of spine malformation. So kind of like a hunchback, what we would call. He had this lump on his back. And so he's often played that way in the Shakespeare play. You know, you get this guy with this kind of scooting around. But then people started thinking, oh, well, that's not, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's historically accurate, because he fought a bunch of battles in armor on horseback. He couldn't do that if he had this weird, hump on his back. So I think that's made up. Okay, so fast forward to, I don't know, about 20 years ago, might have been more. And by the way, because everybody hated Richard III, nobody really was sure where he was buried, because nobody liked him when they got rid of him. They were digging up a parking lot, and they found Richard III. His back wasn't normal. It was true. So then people thought, okay, I don't know. So he did have the weird spine. Then what about these stories about him getting on armor and getting on horseback? There's no way that guy fought all those battles. Well, a group of guys got together and they said, we're gonna find out. We're gonna test it. So they looked for a man who had a very similar disorder, an English man. They just kind of put a message. If you have, it is a medical name for this disorder. If you suffer from this and you are willing to take part in an experiment, would you contact us? And this guy said, I'll do it. What do you want me to do? I said, okay, here's the deal. We want you to train to be a knight. And we're going to make special armor, legit armor, but it's specially designed to fit you so that the sides is not symmetrical, right? And they put this guy through his paces, and they trained him just like you would train a knight, and they trained him in jousting, and by the end of that training, he put on that armor and hopped up on that horse, and he could go with the lance and hit the targets and whack the heads off, scarecrows and stuff. He could do it after he was trained, and they said, okay. Apparently, somebody with this condition can do that, but he had to have specially designed armor. So even if you had physical problems, apparently there were ways to design armor around that. There's nothing really to do with today's lesson. I just think it's very interesting. 50 pounds. Go home and, I don't know, fill a backpack with 50 pounds and weigh it and see how you feel about jumping up on things and running. Finally, we get to the suits of armor that we know and love. This is very fancy armor, though, as you can see. You have special armor for special events. We're going to talk in a minute about tournaments and jousts and things. But I wanted to point out this helmet. Can you all see this helmet well enough, or do I need to come around? Can you guys see over there? And do you see where the opening is? Do you see that this part comes here? So where do I have to look to see? Yeah. So I have to put my head and look out the top. You might think, well, that does not seem very convenient to ride around like this. This is a tournament helmet, and so you're riding. We'll answer the questions about it in a minute, but you're riding with your lance, and you have to do this, right? And then at the last moment, you lift your head up. I can't see anything now. I just hope that I'm on target. Can anybody think of a reason why people would want to do it that way? What do you think, Gianna?
So they couldn't get stabbed.
Because people lost their sight jousting, because, as you probably know from movies or books and also reading, one of the ways to get points was to break the lance. It's made of wood. Little splinters of wood go everywhere. And you don't want that in your eye. You don't want that in your eye. It was a very daring thing to do these jousts and tournaments because, I mean, people did die. But people got maimed for life. And so can you imagine barreling full speed towards someone and then at the last minute making it so you can't see anything? You don't know what happens next. You just hope you've aimed well. This was terrifying to me. So that's what this crazy helmet is. I've got some even crazier helmets than that, though. But first, if you're rich enough, your horse gets armor too. I really like the fact that it's like a unicorn. It's got a little unicorn horn. Because if you can, why wouldn't you? This book tells us that horse armor was expensive and uncommon. If a knight could only afford part of the armor, he would usually choose the chafron, the piece for the head. Here's another one here. This is obviously a very expensive, fancy one. But if you can afford it, and I'm sure it made quite a sight to try it out on the field in that. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's answer these questions about tournaments. What is the purpose of a tournament? Or what is a tournament? What is it, Elliot?
For like someone with a tournament for like a competition.
Okay.
Jousting.
So it's a competition. Why do people compete in events today? What do you want out of it? You want to be the best, right? You want to win the prize, and you want to be the best, just like today. She also says tournaments and jousts gave the knights training in the art of war. What do you do in these tournaments and jousts? We just talked about one of the things. What do you do? What is the event? Yes, or the events.
Well, of course you go against each other with the spears, but then once you get knocked off, you sword fight.
Do you think things like that happen in battle? Sure. Can you imagine? It's easy to imagine. You've been made a knight, but you've never, ever faced an enemy before. You're strong, you're brave, but it's different when someone's riding straight at you with a sword or a spear. And so if you get used to that, and your horse gets used to that, this will help you if you have to go to war, because there's lots of battles going on all the time, and you might get called up for war. Remember, if your lord goes, you got to go. You don't have any choice. So what's the difference between a joust and a tournament? Does anybody remember? Did I ask you that? No, I did not. She says, in jousts, there were 2 combatants only. In tournaments, groups of knights fought on each side. Tournament is teams. Jousts are individuals, right? So, here are some, if you're going to show off at the tournament and all the ladies are going to be there waving at you, you want to wear your nice armor, right? But sometimes the armor got pretty weird. Take a look at these 2 helmets. Yeah, that's the face. I always make 2 when I look at it. What? It's got a bird nose. And then this is just horrifying. Here, I'll come around. This is hilarious. But no, I'm horrified of this. Here, I'll bring it. Here, I'll bring it to you, ladies, and then I'll bring it around to Elliot. Look at the helmet. I think so. It's a lion, but it's just horrific. But this is, if somebody trotted out on the field wearing that, I would just laugh. I couldn't help myself, and I don't think that would be the intent. But that's just scary.
Yeah.
Here, I have to show the parents so they can see what I mean. It's a bird. And then this just terrifies me.
It sort of reminds me of the plague mask.
Yes,
in a way.
yes. Yeah, that's something. That's all I have to say. That's something. I know. Well, you'd think that, Dorothy Mills did say that some of these were for fun. We've been talking as if they're all for fun. Some of them were actually serious to the death. They were basically a duel. Maybe you only want to wear that sort of armor when it's all fun and games, and presumably nobody's going to get hurt. And you might say, well, how can people not get hurt? You can fight with lances and swords that are blunted. Whereas if you guys are familiar with fencing at all, people that practice fencing, they don't have swords that they can actually stab people to death with. They're blunted. They're special for using in fencing. So, but accidents happen, especially when you're breaking lances and splinters are going everywhere. Okay. Last question, and then I want to move on to King Arthur. Who are some of the people you might expect to entertain you at a medieval feast? Tell me one of them. Troubadours. What do troubadours do for you? They do what? They told poems. They sang the poems, perhaps. Who else, Gianna? Jesters. And what do jesters do?
They sing and dance and tell jokes.
Yeah, they make you laugh. They're silly. They're silly. Who else? What's the difference between a troubadour and a minstrel? I thought this was very interesting. Are you familiar with the term minstrel? A traveling minstrel? What do you think of a minstrel doing?
Singing, like, stories.
Singing stories, and isn't that what we just said about a troubadour? Here's what Dorothy Mills says. The troubadour sang chiefly to the aristocratic society. And though he scorned neither gifts nor hospitality, he did not sing in order to earn his living. It says troubadours were men of knightly rank. In other words, this is another career path, right? I don't really want to do the knight thing, but I'm of that rank, and so I'm just going to become troubadour. Minstrels and jongleurs who do a little bit of everything. They're a little bit of, they sing and dance and magic tricks and acrobatics and whatnot. Minstrels and jongleurs were of humbler birth, versatile in their talents, and they expected to be paid. This is my day job. Notice again some of these words. Troubadour, jongleur. If you had to guess a language, what language would you guess they might come from? See, chevalier, noblesse oblige, troubadour, jongleur. This tells us something. This gives us a hint. Where do a lot of these knightly customs and ideas come from? France. France, particularly southern France. Languedoc is this area of southern France, and it's all the knights and ladies and damsels in distress, and all of these things kind of filtered throughout Europe from France. It was started out as a French thing, and it maintained a lot of these French names. Yeah, we talked about it. Do you remember the Song of Roland? Does anybody remember the Song of Roland? Roland was just this guy with Charlemagne, and he got caught in the past. And then later, we read, they turned it into a poem, and these troubadours, they were traveling around singing about Roland. He's French. It's a French poem. So, okay. As we turn to King Arthur, because there's one particular story I want to talk a lot about today. I wanted to show you this. I ran into this picture. It's this chest. Grab my glasses. It's an ivory chest, and it's got carvings on it. There's people carved on it. Can you see that? It says, the ivory carvings on this 12th century box. What years are the 12th century? 1100s. Well done. So how old is this box? Yeah, it's a 900. It's 900 years old. Shows episodes from the story of Tristan and Isolde. This is a tale of the knight Tristan, who accidentally drank a love potion and fell in love with Isolde, the bride of his uncle King Mark. 900 years ago, that story was so well known that they could just carve it in somebody's jewelry box, or it doesn't indicate how large this box is. It's what was kept in it. It's a very old story. Did anything about that particular story strike you as different than all the rest? I mean, I realize there was legit magic. There's a potion, but did it involve knights going out and seeking adventures? Really? It didn't really. It's just a very sad love story. But there was one story that you guys read that involves a lot of adventure, and this is the one I'd really like to talk about. And it is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Sir Gawain. Tell me something odd about the Green Knight. Okay, this is the first odd thing. He's totally green. That's just not normal. His hair is green, his skin is green, his horse is green, everything's green. And does anybody remember when he shows up? What time of year?
Pentecost.
Was it the Pentecost feast? Okay, I'm going to look, because that was not what I was thinking, but you might be right. Let's take a look at the beginning. Okay, King Arthur held his Christmas feast, it says, at Camelot one year. And in comes this green man. First of all, he's enormous. But it's more alarming that he's green. And he says, basically, I want to play a game. Let's play a game. Whoever's brave enough here can whack me with an axe. I won't fight back. But then a year from today, you have to come see me and I get to whack you with the axe. And Gawain takes up the challenge. What is something else very odd about the Green Knight? Yeah, Gianna.
Comes back alive.
Yeah, not only does he come back alive, but... Okay, I'm going to read it. You kind of have to know that this sort of stuff particularly creeps me out. All right. Putting all his strength into the blow, Gawain whirled up the axe and struck so hard that the keen blade cut through the flesh and bone and set sparks flying from the stone paving, while the Green Knight's head leapt from his shoulders and went rolling across the floor. But the knight neither faltered nor fell. Swiftly he sprang forward with hands outstretched, caught up his head, and turning with it, held in his hand by the hair, mounted his waiting horse. There, picture this. He bent down and picked up his own head by the hair, and he's just holding it by the hair. Then this is the big creep out moment. Then riding easily, as if nothing had happened, he turned his face towards Gawain. Where's his face? He's holding it, and he turns his face, and he starts talking out of the head. I'm horrified. Gus, are you horrified? Oh, this is creepy. See to it that you keep your oath and seek me out a year hence. I am the Knight of the Green Chapel, and as such men know me in the north. Through Wales you shall seek me, in the forest of Wirral, and you will not fail to find me there, if you be not a coward and a breaker of your knightly word. Yeah. For reasons I will not share. Heads without bodies creep me out. My kids warned me, When there was a movie of this some years ago, and my son watched it. My kids watch movies to see if they're too violent for their mother, and they report. He's like, Mom, there were heads, and not just the one you expect. Okay, I'm going to pass on that one. So, what does Gawain expect to happen when he meets up with the Green Knight in a year? I'm going to die. Because that's the deal. I chopped him a chop. He gets to give me one in return. Only I can't pick up my head and talk to people with it and then ride out of the room. First question. Does Gawain go? That says a lot, doesn't it? What do you think the penalty would be for not going? Dishonor. I broke my promise. There's no indication that the Green Knight's going to come looking for him. He said, you come find me in a year. If you're not a coward, you come in a year. It doesn't say, or I will hunt you down. He doesn't have to go. Because it's certain death, 100% certain death. But he goes anyway. And as you read, he wanders through until he finally finds his castle. And the lord of the castle is very friendly. His wife is very friendly too. As a matter of fact, the lord of the castle, this might have perked our interest, made us notice something. The lord of the castle says, I want to play a game. Who else wanted to play a game? The Green Knight. He says, let's play a game. Do you remember what his game is? It doesn't involve whacking people. What's the game, Elliot?
Whatever he got hunting, and whatever Gawain got that day, they would trade.
Yeah, you stay here. Gawain, you stay here. You're tired. You've been traveling a long time. You just stay here. I'm going to go out hunting. Whatever I get, I'll give to you, and whatever you get today, you give to me at the end of the day. Great. He goes out and gets, a stag. Whatever. What happens while the lord of the manor is away? He rides off, and who comes to visit Gawain? Who is it, Gianna?
Is it his wife?
His wife. Oh, good morning, Gawain. You're so dreamy. I'm just so glad you're here. And I'm just going to sit down here on the edge of the bed and fix your hair. And Gawain's, oh no, what am I going to do? Because how do you have to treat women? What? Top word. With courtesy. You can't say, lady, you're a rotter, hit the road. That's very insulting. But messing around with the Lord of the Manor's wife. That's not cool. That's not honorable either. So somehow he's got to talk nicely, but make her move along. So he does the best he can. Finally said, I don't think you're a knight at all. I don't think you're really Gawain. Well, why not? Well, you didn't ask me for a kiss. A true knight would ask for a kiss. Now, you have to know that kisses in different times have meant different things. In some countries today, people kiss when they greet each other and whatnot. So this is not, it's just a courtesy. If a lady asks for a kiss or you give it. All right? It didn't mean this quite the same thing that it meant to us. He says, all right, give me a kiss. So she gave him a kiss. So the guy comes back, says, here's my stag. Gawain says, great. And he kisses the Lord on the cheek. And he says, this is what I got today. He said, oh, where'd you get that? And he said, that's not part of the game. I'll tell you where. Just I did. It's like, okay. Next day, same thing. He goes off, gets a wild boar or whatever. His wife comes in, oh, Gawain. Hi. She does it again. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess I'll leave, but I want to give you 2 kisses this time. Same thing. Here's the wild boar. Here's the 2 kisses. Awesome. 3rd day. Hi, Gawain. 3 kisses. And I happen to have something else you might want. What does she have that he might want? Oh, green lace. Gee, I wonder why it's green. Green lace. And why would he want lace?
It's like magical.
It's magic lace. What does it do for you?
So wounds won't heal stone.
You can't get hurt if you've got the green lace. He's about to go off to have some guy chop his head off. It'd be awesome to have the green lace. Come on, Gawain. You know you want to take it. Just take the green lace. First he says, well, I can't. You know, you're married to someone else. I can't take favors from, oh, but you want this lace. It's magic. Okay, so he takes it away. The Lord comes home. Here's the whatever I caught today. Here's the 3 kisses. Does he give him the lace? So he's got to go, right? He's got to find the Green Knight, or he's not kept his promise, so he leaves the castle. Guy leads him there, and he says, well, I'm not going to go any closer. That Green Knight, he's bad news. I'm not, you know what? If you want to run for it right now, I won't tell anybody. He's like, no, I'm going to do this. I've got this. I'm going to do it. Shows up. Does anybody remember what the Green Knight is doing? He hears a noise. What's the Green Knight doing? I know I'm asking you for very random details. He hears the noise of somebody sharpening an axe. He hears the noise of the grindstone. I'm like, that's not good. Okay, Gawain. I get to do to you what you did to me. Come on. Put your head right there. And the axe just starts to fall. And Gawain just flinches a little bit. And he stops. He says, oh, I saw that. Really, are you okay? Are you Gawain? Are you really Gawain? Did you just flinch? And he said, well, you're about to whack my head off, so I would think that it would be fitting to flinch. He says, well, don't do it again. All right. He stops again. Oh, much better, much better. You didn't flinch this time. Will you just get it over with already? I'm like, all right, I got this. Axe falls, and what does he do to Gawain?
Just hits him barely.
Yeah, just scratches it a little bit, just a little bit on the neck. Scratch. And Gawain jumps up and grabs his sword and says, deal's off now. I set still for a whack from you. We're even. You come at me again and I'll defend myself. And the Green Knight laughs. And he says, Gawain, you have indeed borne the blow, and no other will I strike you. I hold you released of all claims now. If I had wished it, I might have struck you a crueler stroke and smitten your head off, as you smote off mine. The first blow and the second that struck you not, these were for promises truly kept, for the one kiss and the two kisses that my wife gave you in the castle, and you truly rendered to me. But the third time you failed, and therefore had a wound of me. You gave me the 3 kisses, but not the green lace. Oh, well, I know all that passed between you. She tempted you by my will. Gawain, I hold you to be the noblest, most faultless knight in all the wide world. Had you yielded to dishonor and shamed your knighthood, then would your head be lying now at my feet. As for the lace, you hid it, but for love of your life, and that is a little sin, and for it I pardon you. I am ashamed, said Gawain, handing him the green lace. For cowardice and covetousness I betrayed my oath of knighthood. Cut off my head, Sir Knight, for I am indeed unworthy of the Round Table. Come now, cried the Green Knight, laughing merrily, so that Gawain knew him indeed to be the lord of the castle. You've borne your penance and are quite absolved and forgiven. Take and keep this green lace in memory of this adventure. Do you think Gawain should have been ashamed? He says, I'm shamed. By the way, I'll tell you, there's a famous poem about this too, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And in the poem version, he goes back to Camelot, and he's just disgusted with himself. He's just really, really angry. And everybody says, oh, Gawain, let it go. Everybody understands that you didn't want to have your head lopped off. You went. It's not like you just stayed here. You went and sought him out. It's understandable. So, but he just wouldn't let it go. So Arthur finally says, look, you know what we're going to do? We're all going to wear a green lace. Just to remind us all that we're human and we have failings. What do you think? Do you think Gawain took it too hard? Or do you think he should have been ashamed? What do you think, Gianna?
I think he took it a little too hard, but like he should have been ashamed at least a little bit to that point.
Eventually you have to let things go, don't you? But he did show some cowardice, didn't he? I'm afraid. And I'm willing. He kept his promise to the Green Knight, but he broke his promise to the Lord of the Castle to give him back everything. It's a hard story, but it really shows us that code, right? You keep your promises no matter what. All right. We talked about Tristan and Isolde. Tell me a little bit about Lancelot. Where did Lancelot grow up? Does anybody remember? Where did he grow up, Ellen?
Magical ladies. I don't remember.
Yeah, did he have a normal upbringing? No, he lived somewhere odd. Does anybody else remember how Lancelot shows up? Let me read this. The Lady Nimue. Remember her? She's the one who put Merlin to sleep under the ground. I come to you, Lord King, said the Lady Nimue, to bring this man my foster child, the son of King Pant of Gwynedd. I come to bring you Merlin's last behest, for ere he went living into the earth, he sought out this youth, and bade him come to your court upon this feast of Pentecost, and ask you to bestow upon him the high order of knighthood. My Lord Arthur, this is Lancelot, called of the Lake, for that he dwelt with me in my fairy dwelling many years, when the wicked King Ryan ravaged his land of Gwynedd. He grew up with the fairies. Apparently they're not all bad, like Morgana Le Fay. What is Lancelot like? We talked earlier about him taking Kay's armor and trading with him. But how were his knight skills? Really good. In fact, they keep saying he's the best knight there until, this person comes or this person. You know how their names appear on the chairs? Oh, there's another one. Does anybody remember the odd thing they call the chairs? One of them is the perilous one. But there's a word before it. Does anybody remember? Siege. Siege. It says, Merlin has spoken his name to you, and see, that name grows in letters of gold upon the empty siege on the right hand of the Siege Perilous. The Siege Perilous is the special seat that no one is allowed to sit in until the one comes for who it is foretold, and Lancelot gets to sit right next to it. Siege. So, I read this book with my kids. I'd never read these stories before till I read them with my kids. And I read this. What's the deal with a siege? Why are they calling them a siege? And this is a true story. I was sitting in the car waiting on my husband because he was in some boring store that I didn't want to go into, like Farm and Fleet or Menards. And waiting, and I put the sun visor down. And you know how there's information, sometimes there's a mirror, but sometimes there's a warning, don't do this, blah, blah, blah. And it was about wearing your seatbelt or something like that. But it was in English and it was also in French for unknown reasons. And because I was really bored, and I like to read things, I was reading the visor. And then I noticed that word. And I was comparing it. It was the French word for the seat. Because it was sitting in the seat and adjusting the seat. I thought, oh my gosh, it's the French word for seat or chair. I thought that's an odd thing to call it. Again, where did we say almost all of these stories come from? They call it a French name. Obviously you don't look very excited, but I was just ecstatic. I just found out why it's called a siege. So Lancelot, he's got skills as a knight. Is there anything bad about Lancelot?
He seems maybe a little prideful.
Okay. Can you think of a specific example or?
I mean, he thinks he can be anyone, basically.
Well, yeah, which makes us ask the question, is it pride if it's really true? I don't know.
Maybe if he brags about it.
If he brags, is he much of a bragger? Does he seem like a bragger? Not really a bragger. He does have a fault. So I'm not asking you an answerless question, but it might not be. You might not have picked up on it, but I want to mention it. But I didn't mark it anywhere. Let's see if I can go back to when he first showed up. And chime in if you think you know. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to find the place. I'll have to mark them. Oh, okay, here we go. This was when Morgana Le Fay spirited him away, and he was in a castle, and she said, you have to choose one of us to be your lady love, and we will let you go, and whatnot. Next morning early, Lancelot was brought before the four queens, and Morgana Le Fay said to him, "Right well we know that you are Lancelot of the Lake, King Arthur's knight, whom Nimue, the Lady of the Lake, fostered in Avalon to be the best knight of Logres and the noblest knight living. Right well we know that of ladies you serve Queen Guinevere alone. Yet now in spite of ladies you serve, now in spite of fate she shall lose you, and you her, or else your life. For living you go not from this castle, unless you take one of us to be your lady and your love." "A hard choice indeed," said Lancelot, "to die or to choose one of you to be my love. Yet it is easily answered. I would rather die than shame my honor and my vows of knighthood. I will have none of you, for you all are all false enchanters. As for Queen Guinevere, I will prove it in battle with any man alive that she is the truest lady to her lord of any living." So they said, "Oh, we know you serve Queen Guinevere." Does that seem okay? I mean, she's the queen. He serves King Arthur and Queen Guinevere. But notice what he answers. "I'm not going to marry any of you because you're a bunch of dirty, rotten scoundrels. And don't you go talking bad about Guinevere." When did they talk bad about Guinevere? When they said, "You serve her alone." See if you can connect the dots. They said, "Choose one of us to be your lady love, but we know you serve Queen Guinevere alone." What are they insinuating?
He only likes
Queen Guinevere is his lady love. Is that okay? It's not okay. And so in some versions written for adults, it's a little more obvious. In this version, but it's going to be very obvious towards the end of the book. So I just wanted to make sure you understood what was going on. Lancelot and Guinevere love each other, but they're not allowed because she's married to someone else. And this is a problem. This is a problem. So this is a problem that Lancelot's going to have to keep riding away from Camelot to avoid her. So we keep that in mind. What are you reading for next week? You are reading, finish book 2. I will write this and then I'll get out of the way, okay? And then read book 3, but just chapters 1 and 2. I want you to read chapter 13 in Dorothy Mills. This is in your reading guide, but we're skipping a chapter, just so you know. You can read chapter 12 if you want to. It's Life in the Manor House. And just for time constraints, I just decided to skip that chapter. But feel free to read it if you want to. And start thinking about who those people are in the picture, what the story is. Does he even want to be a knight? Did he get railroaded into this thing? Or is this the moment he's always dreamed of? This is for you to decide. Any questions at all? Any questions about the assignment? Are we good? All right. I'll see you next week.